This video is sponsored by Torras. This is the Samsung S26 Ultra, and this is a device of trade-offs, but those trade-offs are probably a lot different than you might think. On paper, the S26 Ultra has some notable upgrades, downgrades, and some aspects that have carried over from the previous generation. It looks quite similar to the S25 Ultra and shares a lot in common with it, but the materials it's made of are different. It has upgrades to the display, the camera system, and a few lesser known areas that can make a big difference. That being said, specs-wise, it seems like other brands have caught up or even surpassed the Ultra lineup in some ways, but specs don't always reflect real-world use. After using this phone myself for the last 10 days or so, a lot of what's in here I found to be quite surprising in both good and bad ways. I bought the S26 Ultra as soon as it was announced, and this is the third year in a row that I've bought and reviewed the Ultra series. The prices stayed the same the entire time at $12.99 USD, and I think there have been iterative but meaningful improvements with each generation, and the S26 Ultra is no different. Design-wise, it is very similar to the S25 Ultra, but is now the thinnest and lightest Ultra ever made at 7.9mm thick and 214 grams, which I would say isn't really noticeable just holding the phone, but it does feel a bit different in the hand. Samsung made the corners a little rounder this year, which makes it slightly more comfortable to hold caseless, although you do still have sharp edges, which some folks may or may not like. But outside that, the camera system is housed within a new pill-shaped camera bump that I think looks a little bit better, where the model that I have here is the new cobalt violet color. I absolutely love this color. One of my favorite colored phones was the deep purple iPhone 14 Pro, and this kind of reminds me of that. It does show smudges and fingerprints on the back super easy, but I would expect most folks will use this in a case anyway, especially with Samsung switching from titanium back to aluminum this year. That, along with that new camera bump, will likely give this a tad worse durability if you end up dropping this caseless, and it does still retain the same IP68 rating. Some brands have moved up to IP69, but realistically, IP68 is going to cover almost any realistic scenario in terms of water and dust resistance. The S26 Ultra screen also retains the same Corning Gorilla Armor 2 glass as last year, which gives you decent scratch protection, but the display itself is quite different this year. That has the new privacy display that's been caught up in the hype cycle, and this is one of those features that's easier to judge in person rather than from specs or a review. The basic idea of how this works is it narrows your screen's field of view so people around you can't see what's on your screen or what you're doing. It does work quite well, but there are two settings or levels of privacy, both with different trade-offs. The standard setting dims your screen just a tad as it's turning off some of the pixels, but the picture stays relatively the same, and does make the screen a lot harder to see at an angle, but it's not a guarantee. My wife could still easily see what was on my screen sitting beside me at an event, and it wasn't until I turned on maximum privacy protection where it completely shut it down to anyone around me. But the picture quality takes a big hit. The brightness gets reduced quite a bit, which will make it hard to view in bright areas, but more than that, the black levels get raised way up on the phone, making the contrast quite dull, where it feels more like an LCD display rather than an OLED. Don't get me wrong, I still think this is an amazing feature and can serve you well if you need to hide what's on your screen, but it's not something that I think that you can leave on 100% of the time. Some folks have also complained about the brightness levels not being as bright as the S25 Ultra even when privacy mode is off. That is technically true, but it's so marginal that it's not something that's perceivable with real-world use, and it's still incredibly bright and easily viewable in daylight. With that said, this is still technically an 8-bit OLED panel like the S25 Ultra, so no 10-bit like you see in most other flagships, but where my S25 Ultra would occasionally suffer from things like banding over gradients, Samsung has done something different this year where that doesn't seem to happen at all this gen, and the image and the color are great. I've watched my fair share of content on here and everything looks outstanding. The audio quality is great, although it doesn't get quite as loud as the S25 Ultra. It's not a considerable drop-off by any means, and I do think that the S26 Ultra is a bit better balanced. I normally have this propped up with this Q3 veg skin case sent over by Torras when I watch or listen to media, and I always love having Torras sponsor these videos because their cases are fantastic. The 360-degree magnetic O-stand is genuinely useful there. It rotates out and lets you prop up the phone hands-free at pretty much any angle you want, and it snaps onto any magnetic surface. So not only can you sit it upright at your desk or if you're out somewhere on a hike, but it enables magnetic charging, which you don't natively get on the S26 Ultra. The veg skin has this premium organic silicone fabric texture. It's not leather, but it's got the same smooth high-end feel, it's stain resistant, so super easy to wipe clean, and the microfiber interior is scratch-free and pairs really well with the premium look of the S26 Ultra. They also sent over their Orange Armor screen protector, and what I like about this specific protector is it doesn't disable the Ultra's anti-reflective coating on the screen. It actually enhances it with a 7-layer coating that cuts reflectivity to under 0.8%, which is 5 times less than a standard display. If you want to check out either of those, I will link them in the description, but let's get into what is arguably the most important part of this phone, the camera system. This is another area where we see some incremental changes with some neat features added. The main camera has the same 200 megapixel sensor that was in the previous 3 generations, but Samsung improved the aperture going from f1.7 to f1.4 this year. That allows you to capture a shallower depth of field without using any kind of portrait mode, and it does work a little bit better for photos at night, but otherwise looks relatively the same as last year. The 50 megapixel 5x telephoto lens was completely redesigned, switching from a periscope lens to a conventional one, likely to keep the phone thin. That also went from f3.4 in the S25 Ultra to f2.9, which again is a bit better for low light and I've been really happy with. Although the minimum focus distance is about twice as far, which can be a pain at times if you're trying to use it on close subjects. The 3x telephoto still has a 10 megapixel sensor, and that's not my favorite lens. That sensor is even smaller this year, so it is a marginal downgrade and is nowhere near as good as the other two. Finally, the selfie and ultra-wide cameras are completely unchanged, which I think are okay quality, but the real changes in the S26 Ultra cameras came on the video side of things. Just like the privacy display, one feature you've probably seen if you've watched any content on this phone is Horizon Lock, where when turned on, you can essentially rotate your phone 360 degrees and your image stays locked on with virtually no movement. Obviously, that particular use case is kind of gimmicky, but the real benefit of this is you get amazing video stabilization. If you've got an iPhone, this is kind of like action mode on steroids. I found it's a lot smoother than action mode, and it could be genuinely useful in the right circumstances. It's not something that you're going to reach for often, I don't think, but you've also got more pro video tools where, in addition to filming in log, you can now shoot with the advanced professional video codec that can capture near lossless video, which, again, sounds good on paper, but in practice does have some issues. The video itself will be less compressed with more details, but the issue here is that Samsung is still processing the image like they would in other video modes, so you end up with something that does look overprocessed or oversharpened, where I would like to see the image be a little bit more natural looking. For most people, that probably doesn't matter, and the regular video modes are fine. Everything is nice and clean looking and fine for capturing everyday moments, but if you're buying this specifically as a video production tool, it's worth noting. A near lossless codec that still has Samsung's heavy processing baked in is kind of a contradiction. It also takes an incredible amount of storage, where a 1-minute video results in a file over 6 gigs in size, and takes an enormous amount of processing power, but luckily the S26 Ultra is a beast when it comes to performance. Inside here is the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chipset, where this particular version comes with 12 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage. This Gen 5 chipset is specifically tuned or overclocked for this phone, which is why you see it slightly edge out other phones like the OnePlus 15 in benchmarks that have the same chip. That being said, even with it having roughly 12 to 16% better scores in Geekbench over the S25 Ultra, you really don't notice it in real-world use, whether you're browsing the web, photo editing, gaming, or multitasking between apps. If you really push it, it will throttle considerably under heavy load, but the thermal management is outstanding overall, where this is probably the best Android phone that I've ever tested in that regard. Side by side with other current flagships, there's a huge disparity in temperatures, and a big part of that is likely because of the new vapor chamber in here. It's very rare that you feel much heat on here at all, which has been a problem on past models, so a huge win there. On the software side of things, the S26 Ultra runs Android 16 with OneUI 8.5, which has been solid. You get a nice polished experience that's well thought out, and the only minor thing that I wish they would have done visually is have a set of dark icons when you switch to dark mode, which is a super minor detail. Most of the updates that I've seen in here are AI related, and this is again a bit of a mixed bag in terms of actual useful features versus weird gimmicky stuff that you'll likely never use. Things like Call Assist, where you get live translations or call screening features, or the document scanning feature in the camera app that can automatically detect documents, remove fingers, and optimize the document and export to PDF are quite useful, but there's a lot of weird photo and image stuff in here that I'll just never be into, and it's just a bit overwhelming, to be honest. There are basically 4 overlapping AI systems between Galaxy AI, Bixby, Gemini, and Perplexity, where some like Perplexity and Bixby have system-level access to apps and settings, and Gemini can do things like book Ubers or order food, but it just doesn't feel very cohesive. I've also just never been one to use contextual features like the new Now Nudge that can give you suggestions based on what it sees on the screen, but I think it would make sense to consolidate all the AI stuff under one system. Other than that, I haven't come across any major hangups, and in my own use, I found the battery to last just short of a couple of days of consistent use before I've got to charge it. That has a 5000 mAh battery, just like the previous gen, although it does seem to last a couple of hours longer than the S25 Ultra, but it's still quite a ways behind phones like the OnePlus 15 that have silicon carbon batteries with over 7000 mAh that can last more than 8 hours longer. Having that extra capacity is definitely nice to have, but this still feels more than good enough, and the nice thing is, this year wired charging went up to 60 watts from 45 watts in the last couple of gens, and you can get a 0 to 50% charge in just 15 minutes, or go from 0 to 100 in 45, so super easy to get a quick top up if you need one. Wireless charging was also bumped up as well, going from 15 watts to 25 this year, but there are unfortunately still no magnets in the phone itself. So you'll have to use a case like the Torras one that I mentioned earlier, if that is something that you want. I know personally I almost always charge wirelessly, and having magnets in the phone is so much better than just sitting the phone down on a flat surface. I love that Google added that to the Pixel 10, and I wish we would see that here at some point, but it's not a huge deal. Speaking of wireless, one of the quieter updates on the S26 Ultra that could potentially have a big impact for some folks is the bump up to Bluetooth 6, which is up from 5.4 in the S25 Ultra. Bluetooth 6 has better security and privacy, you get better performance in crowded areas, and if you have things like location tags, Bluetooth 6 gives you location accuracy of around 10 centimeters, where version 5.4 is between 100 and 500 centimeters, so a huge improvement. Other than that, you still get the same Wi-Fi 7 support, which has been fantastic. The signal strength and speed have been very good, and I haven't had any drops or issues with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. And all in all, this has been a really solid phone. I know there are areas where it seems like it may be lacking, like the 8-bit display or with a smaller battery, but I don't think that those are really noticeable at all. That said, I think if you're going to slap an Ultra label on here, you should probably focus more on making some improvements there over the next year or so versus jamming more AI stuff in here, or at least make that experience a little more cohesive. But That's just me. I would love to know where you guys come out on this. How many AI features are you actually using on your phone, and what are you using them for? Let me know in the comments down below, along with anything that you either like or would like to see on this phone. That's all I've got for you today. If you want to see more tech-related content, or help me design an agentic AI that is legally your sous chef, but has no arms or legs and just yells ingredients at you from across the room, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next upload.